semi-final action in the women's division. France versus Belgium. Of course, Belgium with the extra game in the schedule yesterday. They had their crossover against Germany, and what a crossover game that was. Ended up 12-10 in the end, just holding their nerve after taking some breaks in the second half. And of course, France with the slightly easier way through. We're expecting big things from the French women this season across all of the various divisions. Of course, much inspiration was taken from the under-20s performances a couple of weeks ago in Birmingham at the world stage. So just see the two teams having their pre-game spirit circle before we get things underway. Myself, Hannah Pendlebury, on the call remotely this fine morning, but the weather compared to yesterday's play looks a very nice start to the day over in Ghent. Thank you for joining us on our VO live stream, bringing you so much coverage from this wonderful tournament. We also, of course, on the other channel have, I say the other channel, still the same channel, just the different stream. We, of course, have the other side of the under-17 women's bracket. That is Italy versus Sweden, with the full production crew on the ground. And time officially getting underway. So 80 minutes of play. Points cap maximum of 13 here at the EYUC. And you can hear that iconic air horn that I'm pretty sure the Belgian crowd brought with them. But in terms of the games across the division that have gotten these two teams here, I mean, at the moment, it's all about the French being undefeated at the present moment. Two pools in this women's division, A and B, then moving into power pool stages. So Belgium, of course, having to come up through the lower of the two power pools. And, of course, the French doing a great job of staying on top of things. Current goal difference for the French women, plus 53. Some very impressive score lines across the board. And we're getting underway with France to start the game on offense. So an out of bounds pull. And we are starting us off here. So France with the initial advantage, but not if they throw into poachers like that. And so nearly just 1/3 of the field left to go. Well, this would be huge for the Belgian women. And to correct myself from earlier, getting our divisions mixed up, it's not the Belgian women who came through the lower power pool. They, of course, won that up against Germany, who'd had to grind all the way through to get to the quarter-final stage. But that one, again, throwing into coverage rather than a poach this time. And the French get possession back. I think that was Zoe Poisson just bobbling away. I'm sure you can appreciate, lovely viewers, that without the ability to auto-correct the white balance, it's a little bit difficult to see some of the numbers here, but that one's just going to be a little bit too out of the side. Certainly, juniors, we're really used to seeing extremely athletic plays. Not saying there's any difference in terms of the grit and determination versus seniors play, but just the fact that, much like when you see youngsters skiing down mountainsides with no fear, the same is true for ultimate athletes. A little travel call there. which should just be an easy kind of just send it back. But we did get the action replay of the travel, which has been called on Louis de Vos. Belgium with a spoil after hot pressure. Can the French pounce? Oh, it's a high release, and what a rundown. Bit of creativity coming off the hands of Lally Blanchard. So the French hold their first offensive possession in this game. And we start to get things rolling here on our final day of live streaming. And what a tournament it has been. Just showing the strength of these young teams coming through. And creativity indeed from Blanchard. And Lipenek Caminard with the goal. So France, of course, having made a really great job of many of the teams here, come out with their D-line, all cylinders firing. We just won a close game here, folks. Great effort to try and get that layout and cause spoil, but it's almost like that option was a little bit too wide open, but in a cluster of other players. Not the best spacing from the French there. But that's a really solid initial undercut. But the throw isn't quite there. A little bit too much boost on it from De Vos. Now thinking about it. All the way across. Big lefty backhand. And I think we might get a tussle here, folks, between these two nations. Of course, it's all about getting yourself into a guaranteed medal match. Or the mini final will be played later on today. But that is a lovely bit of flow offense on the near sideline. And the French managed to get the break to start us off here. Not the cleanest in the world, but Ella Mayal finding Zazie Gibon for that goal. As I say, it really has been a cruise through the stages for the French up until this point. The closest matchup they've had has been against Italy, 13-6 in this women's division. And the last time these two met was the first game of the tournament, where the Belgians only managed to put 2 points on the board against this very talented side. But some fantastic wins as well for Belgium. As we said, they've had 2 12-10 wins actually over Belgium, including that crossover game to get themselves secured into this semi-final. But also a bit of a defeat as well to the Italians, who perhaps will be having a rematch against the French later on today for that gold medal. So both teams choosing person defence so far, trying to use their athleticism to deny their opponents. Stall count starting to rise here. Just going to have to put that one up. Nice air underneath it. Van den Busch puts that one through, and it's a steal. They have the player upfield with space, but the defender closes the window. Caron. That one's going to have to come back on the pick. Lapus, and that number 19 follows her pass through. I don't know if it's the same lefty from the previous D point, but always nice to have a left-handed player, especially on your D line, and that's an absolute ripper of a grab. Huge. Absolutely huge. Well, Nomi Ginun getting us fired up this morning. Lorme, I'm sure, was pleased to see her teammate come down with that. Of course, one wonders if there might be any relation between Noemi Ginun and a certain Luna Ginun, of course, on the French under-20 women's side. Indeed, we can confirm that. We've done a little bit of research. That's a little sibling connection. Of course, lots of these juniors that are now playing are second and some third generation Ultimate players, whose parents, of course, get them throwing almost as soon as they can walk. Very reminiscent of ice hockey players and figure skaters in North America. When asked, when did you learn to skate? They can't answer that question. Although to bring it more closer to home, perhaps some skiing lessons. But that is a lesson and a half in how to get underneath blocks. And the French, well, another opportunity this time goes amiss. But you can see how quick these counter-attacks are. So Belgium trying to get their teams fired up. And you can see that little sneak off and away from the handler that the French are trying to do to confuse the lanes. They're really happy to just sag and allow slightly easier reset swings. But that's not going to be an easy one to run down, just hits the turf. You have two options to hit. Not sure which one that one was supposed to be for. And it looks like the disc never came back in bounds, so it's going to be a very short field opportunity for the French to try and run away with the next break in the game. Of course, at the moment, 3-0 deficit. Can they make it 4? Well, it's going to be a squeeze to the front cone. And the French indeed do make it a 4-0 lead here. They are so ruthless on the counter-attack. And another throw from Lorme. And again, it's Guetin, Lepeznik, Caminard coming through strong. Lepeznik is just 16 years old. Says her sporting hero is Michael Jordan. got into the sport because of a family connection. Lupisa Caminard's mum knew one of the coaches of the local team. Just goes to show you the real community vibe. And big shout out to all of the Salamanders Corti folks back home. Bit of a swing and a miss there for the Belgian women. You can see how intense this defence is. But they get it back. Can Belgium reverse the fortunes? Last time it was a 13-2 win for these very talented French women. But can the Belgians find their form? That one a little bit of an overshot. I think that one was intended for Clémentine Georges. But France will take another opportunity here. Going to have to run that one down. Has the separation in the end zone, and it's going to be good enough indeed. Perfectly weighted backhand to the far side into the path of Annelle Chevillon-Guillerme. Le Croate with the throw. Of course, Le Croate is a name we're familiar with saying over the course of this tournament. He's got a brother playing in the under-17 boys division. Of course, it's a lot of success. Again, no surprise for these French teams across the divisions here. Not entering a squad in the mixed division, just deciding to go for open and women's here. Although French boys just about hung on to get into their semi-final yesterday after a very, very, very impressive comeback from the Belgian Open team. So can their women's programme do the same thing? A little bit as a spoil there. And France to pick it up. Oh, that's a really curvy inside backhand break. Catches almost behind the back. And again fires through the break side shot. And what a visionary arcing flick that is. Great work from Noémie Guénon. Just putting that one up on a piece of string. And getting another stat on the board for the game. Noémie Guénon getting involved in 2 so far of these goals for the French women. 6-0 the scoreline. So it's entirely possible that the French will take half 7-0. But at long last, we see the Belgian women taking a timeout to try and find some magic and recover here. Because at the moment, they are being completely shut out. So spirits still high on the sidelines, as the Belgian women look to try and get at least 1 point on the board for the first half. As I said, yesterday in the quarter-final stages in the under-17 boys division, there was a huge comeback, but that one, another fantastic pick-off for the French defence. Puts loads of air underneath that one. And that indeed will be half taken. 7-0. So the teams on the pitch will take a breather. Well, why don't we take a brief break from this game, but we'll see you on the other side for the second half.
Yes, he will. The lovely did.
So the Belgian flags being run across the field here. And trying to get their spirits ignited. As at the moment, their women are facing up against quite a staggering deficit. Not too different on the other live stream, where Italy also with a commanding 6-1 lead on our last score check. At the moment, it's all just about this Belgian side trying to rise from the first half. The last time they met the French women, way back when, at the very beginning of the tournament, it was a commanding win for the French then, 13-2 the eventual scoreline, and a very similar affair because those 2 goals came very late in the game when the French women were 12-0 up. And it was actually a goal, a hold, and a break for the Belgians. So if they can get the train rolling out of the station a little bit earlier in this game, we can be very hopeful that they could actually put a couple past this French women's team. But you just got to try and find the belief, of course, if the French need to run tighter lines just to make sure they close this one out quickly. I'm sure they would be happy to do it. But ultimately, it's about making sure they're ready for their final later on today. Making sure everyone gets lots of touches as the water bottle crew leave the field. Our hats off to everybody involved in the development of these youth teams. And certainly lots of experience across this Belgian side as well. A couple of Freesbees, a couple of Jet Set, some Antwerp folks, all enjoying being the hosts here. And suddenly, not a small achievement to get yourself a bronze medal. So the winner of this match will be facing up against the winner of Italy-Sweden, which, if things go as they currently are, will be Italy going against France, much like the under-20s division last year. Those 2 nations rather ripped things through. That's a great attack. Strip is going to be called. I'm not overly surprised to see it. That was very close indeed. Great rundown and recovery, but that one is indeed going to return to the hands of Belgium. Good quick discussion. So this, the pivotal moment, perhaps. Is this where things start to change? Oh, what a recovery from behind. Teammate, got a backup teammate, and that will be a score for Belgium. They manage it coming out into the second half. What a fantastic reversal of fortune here. Of course, that was the hold to start the game from the French women. Jolane Touches finding Nora Adams. And that will do very nicely. Well, that's number 1. The Belgian women now with a bit of a rock face to ascend. Of course, we just want to see hotly contested games. In our booth, there is no space for partisan. And Adams, one of those Freesbees athletes. making the journey across to she's a Shinverpers, which I always have to apologise to our wonderful Belgian community that I not always the best at figuring out which pronunciation for which names. Of course, a wonderful country to be in, and hosting, as you saw during those half-time break, the EUCF later on this year in Ostend. And we'll be bringing you plenty of coverage from that event, Ultimate fans, don't you worry. So an out-of-bounds pull for the Belgian D-line. And they too will look to try and sag into the lanes, but not quite enough adjustment off the far side. Allows that run straight through. And the structure coming a little bit unglued here, but good recycle from the deep space. And again, these lefty handlers coming up strong, but that's not quite enough boost. On the throw, looks to be from Dole. That's going to have a lot of gas underneath it. Great rundown. And the French putting on a zone to try and recover this offense point. Well, as I said, last time these two faced each other, the first goal of the game was followed up immediately by a break for Belgium. You see a pack trying to snaffle that away, but there is the touch from Marilou de Delpech. Well, giving and going all the way across to the far side of the field. And that one will be good for the hold. So not the same performance as before. And again, it's a Lormeau and Noemi Guénon connection. And it's nice to be able to see a couple more of these jerseys as the game develops. Of course, Delpech is a name we are, again, familiar with by virtue of some recency bias. But, of course, no, you're allowed to be biased when you've got a coach of some world champions. Marilou's father is the coach of the women's under-20 programme. Says, big shout out to her two brothers, sister and her parents. And Delpech will age out into the under-20s division very soon. She's 16. She's been playing since she was 9. And Alcurve, OWLCURV, a club back home in Coupry. But Belgium looking to keep things moving. And we have another look at some zone from the French women. Relatively passive by the looks of that. Although it does seem to be trapping at the sidelines. But yeah, just a solid arrowhead, but that's a really solid overhead. Can Belgium just keep it together? Oh, that is a visionary throw that's just about taken away. The defense closed the door in the final moment. Very well shepherded. But we are starting to see the sparks of a comeback for this Belgian women's side. And a split stack from the French women. Although an immediate clear of the disc to the near side. Oh, that's again, teammates backing up teammates. And a big boost towards the end zone. Nice hold of the position and then a little run towards the disc at the very end. It really does show that so many of these athletes have been playing for a long time, and what a beauty of a forehand throw that was. Getting Lepezenek, Camina, with a massive bit of vision to find that back corner. This time it was Zoe Poisson reeling in the disc. Another of the players, I'm sure, with their eyes towards that under-20s team. It's going to be very difficult for selections, I'm sure. Poisson hailing from La Roche-sur-Yon. And started playing because Emma Romano needed more women playing in the team. So she started in Harriet for 2 years. And of course, this didn't have under-17s division last season, but they did have a World Summit hosted right here on these fields in Ghent, which was organised privately by the Swedish Federation and the Belgians. That was a mix of national and club teams. But you can see why this French women's side has rarely found an opponent to challenge them. They're just very consistent on defence in terms of the intensity, but they back each other up on a frequent basis. It's slicing through. And again, these break side forehands. I'm wondering if we might get a transition in the force being chosen by Belgium to try and shut those down. And there's Chevillon Guilherme on the other end of it. No, I take that back. It's Chloé Montois. Monzoil, a Bordeaux athlete. And at the moment, things really just going so strongly in favour of this French women's side. It's just a couple of decision-making miscues, I think, for the Belgians. They certainly have so much talent across the board. But it is a very tricky task to play against this French women's team. Are looking so very good. Another look at our arrowhead style zone. Look at that pace on the front of the cup. It has been quite a quick game so far. Just over half an hour these two teams have been battling out here. I like the spacing from the Belgians, although that might see them come unstuck. It does. Just becoming a little bit disconnected, and the throw has a bit too much mustard on it. So we would like to see a bit more of an aggressive move towards that upfield position with more of a leading throw, but this is how you learn. Learn by doing. So give goes across the way. Oh, and that's much closer than some of the scores we've seen recently. An upline, open side grind for the French women rather than these indefensible passes we've been getting used to, those flicks to the far side. Romain Caron finding Marilou Delpech. And unsurprisingly, we're seeing a real even performance from the French women across the board in terms of the stats, but also the blocks they're getting. They're happy to run through the lines, but it's not just their O-line coming out and getting the goals on the board. They are absolutely churning through the breaks here. And 2 points away from another final for a French junior women's team. Of course, the following round after this game will be the Open Division semi-finals. And in that matchup, we have France taking on Germany and Sweden versus Italy. Of course, in the Open Division of this under-17 level, it's all about the undefeated Germans. But the Belgian women defeated the German women's team to get to this stage and put themselves within grasping reach of some medals. So we see players trying to isolate, a little bit loaded on the downfield, but that one finds a nice little pocket over the front wall. Again, some of these swings are a little bit quirky, but that one well handled. And a lovely breakthrough. Can they make the most of it? A little bit of contact there, but all fine. And that's going to be a spicy shot. Can they rip it down? They do! And Belgium have officially gotten the same tally so far in this match that they got the last time they faced this French women's side. So this game really running away pace-wise, but that is a really lovely bit of attack from the Belgian women. Kerdeslova finding Juliette Vovin. Kerdeslova on home turf, a Ghent athlete playing with a gentle sibling, of course, of another gentle athlete. That's her sporting heroes, Inelankrit and Elle Kromik. And already a coach herself is Kerdeslova. So I'm sure all her under-11s watching this one on the sidelines or live or on demand. We're very proud to see their coach doing good things as the pool goes up before all of the French women are off the field, but keen to keep the momentum going. But that one all too easy. 12-2 now. And I have to say, there was real hope yesterday when the Belgian and French teams in the Open Division faced off against each other. But perhaps a little bit too late for the comeback for the Belgian women, because save an act of God, I'm not sure there's anything any of the teams really could do against this French women's team with a 12-2 scoreline. Perhaps if we got some tornadoes roll into the sports complex or some such. But it is juniors. You never know, folks. Either way, it would be wonderful to see this Belgian women's side put another point on the board against the French. So this, a crucial point to keep the game alive. Currently, the Italians with the best tally. That's 6 points. Going for the big backhand up the sideline. Doesn't rip it towards the end zone. There's been some moments, I think, for this Belgian women's team where they've been a bit hasty on their flow with the bigger shots. It's a nice find from Van den Busch. Now, Nora Adams. Lashes it across, but that one almost like it's thrown with destiny for that French defender. Could see what she was attempting to connect with on that far right side, but just not quite the execution on the throw to get there. But a nice look. Oh, but that's a great little poach off block. Flaps the hand on the high release and brings it back down to earth. Now, can they lace this one together? Big old poach off behind, but doesn't need it. And that one, oh, under duress. Fantastic catch. And it's going to have to be a French offensive set to close this game out now. So Belgium already doing better than their opening performance against the French women. Now, a break here would really give them some fire coming into their next matchup. But the French women looking very cool, immediately getting themselves to the line, ready and prepared to close this one off. Because up until this stage, as I say, it's just that one game that the Italians managed to test them. But even then, it was a huge first half. And the Italians had to break back. So, match point for the offence of France is to do it all in just over half the time allotted. Great effort on the defence, rising high, but just not quite making the match. Scoop and push through. Popping back into the same position. Oh, but that's a bit of a quirky one. Can it be collected? Well, it was a great reaction recovery. But unfortunately, that throw from Eva Deveau just not connecting with the team. So a real opportunity here for the Belgian women. Oh, but that's just a drop. Such a shame, but it does happen, especially when you're excited to try and snag a break off of your opponents. Belgium have done it before. They've got to have that belief. And again, still these French women with these really lovely high release dishes, just so soft, but that's not soft, that's just a straight up break around the mark. And a beautiful bit of flow offense finishes us off. France women are going into the final. No surprises there. Their win at the World Summit last year, their performance so far through the course of this tournament, very well deserved, undefeated. Will they be able to cruise through into the final and take that gold medal here in Ghent? Again, well, Belgium flag flying high. Of course, a really great performance as well for the Belgian women. I'm sure they will have a great time playing in their bronze medal match later on today. Of course, both of the medal matches happening here on Saturday in Ghent. And what a fabulous work that was. The other game's still ongoing though, folks, so if you've got yourself a pass for this event, feel free to jump over to that other live stream. But we will be bringing you action back to back throughout the course of today. As I already mentioned, it will be the Under-17 Open or Boys Division coming up next. That's Germany and France battling it out here on the Veo stream. On the other side, it will be Sweden and Italy. So I'm sure many French fans will be staying on board. And then after that, the women's bronze medal match, the open bronze medal match on this stream. But of course, plenty of fun for you on our full production stream. Well, it's been a pleasure to bring you this game. Congratulations again to the French women's under-17s team. Didn't they fantastically work on defense, really just applying pressure consistently and taking their opportunities. But the Belgian women, some real fire. As I say, the future of Ultimate is very bright indeed, folks. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again for the next round.